Howdy folks, welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. We're back on the patch 8.2 test server, continuing our look at the new American tanks, concentrating today on the T69 Tier 8 medium tank. I know a lot of you guys were interested in the new American mediums. There are two of them, the T69 at Tier 8 and its bigger brother, the T54E1 at Tier 9. But today we're looking at the T69. Now, I found a little bug on the tech tree, by the way. Here's the new American tech tree. And it's this line here that branches out from the M7. Now, they fixed it in the previous patch that you could mouse over and still see the research price and purchase price of every tank that you had already researched, which was nice. But if you go back to the T21, see, somebody had asked me on the comments how much a T21 costs to research. Well, I can't tell you. I have absolutely no bloody idea. Because for some reason, the mouse over on the T21 no longer shows the research price. It does on every other tank in the game, but not the T21. And I think the reason for that is because they haven't actually put it in the correct place in the tech tree in one way or another. Because if you go to the M7, according to the M7 leads to the Easy 8 Sherman. You go to the Easy 8 Sherman and suddenly you're down here. From there, you're down here. What's going on? Yeah, most probably the M7 currently on the live server leads to the Easy 8, and they've slotted these guys into the tech tree, but they haven't actually fixed the way the M7 researches. So, but anyway, amusing bugs aside, what's the T69 like? Yeah, it's good. Again, it's test server rules. It's a Tier 8 medium tank, which means it can get into Tier 10 games, which means that every game I get into on this thing, it's me, 1 scout, 2 artillery, and 11 Tier 10 heavies, mediums, and tank destroyers. Because that's the test server for you. If you can get into a Tier 10 game, it puts you in nothing but Tier 10 games, because the only people playing on the test server right now, there are 7,699 players, and 7,600 of them are driving Tier 10 tanks for the first time ever. And that's just what test server games are like, unfortunately, like it or lump it. However, I have been able to do reasonably well in this tank, despite being 2 tiers below almost everybody else in every match I've been in. You just need to be careful, which bodes well for how this thing is going to do in, a normal game where there aren't 11 tier 10s on each team. And I do think this tank is going to do really, really, really well. I like it a lot. So, quick look at the stats, and then we'll go over how I think this tank should be played. 1350 hit points, which is bog standard, middle of the road average for Tier 8 mediums, which may come as a surprise to some of you who might have been expecting it to be on the lower health side because it's got the autoloader gun. No, none of the Americans appear to have been penalised by having lower health, purely because they have oscillating turrets and autoloaders. That just seems to be a French thing. None of them have particularly weak armour. That just seems to be a French thing. I'm not sure what the justification is for the French having low armour and low health, because they've got autoloaders, but the Americans don't seem to suffer from that problem. Although the French are still more mobile than the American tanks, so, that may be it. But anyway, it is what it is. Speaking of mobility, it's a very, very light medium tank. It's only 35 tons, and it has a 600 horsepower engine. So that means the power to weight ratio in this thing is 17.2 horsepower per ton, which is really, really quick. Just as an example, I think the AMX 1375 has a power to weight ratio of around about 19 point something, and the 1375 is a fast little light tank. So that's really good. Speaking of speed, 51.5 kilometers per hour, so it's no slouch. It's not French, but it's not slow either. That's pretty damn quick. And very, very manoeuvrable as well. 40-degree traverse speed. That's really, really fast turning. Turret traverse, equally good. 38 degrees per second. Not bad at all. It's got your bog standard, once you start getting up to this sort of level, 400 metre view range and 750 metre signal range. Now, armour-wise, it's okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with the armour. Turret and hull at the front are both 101mm. Turret and hull at the sides are both 76mm. Hull at the rear is 38, turret 50. So it's not especially terrible. It's medium tank armour. Sides are awful, rear's awful, front is good enough to bounce a shot if you angle it. So just like any other medium tank, basically. It's not especially under-armoured. Despite being very mobile, and despite having an autoloader gun, and despite, you know, not being French. So, what's going on? Well, I don't really see any downsides to these American mediums, these new ones, compared to, you know, their French counterparts. Well, okay, so the armour is... Well, you know, the thing about the armour is medium tanks never rely on their armour anyway. There are one or two exceptions, and I'm thinking of the Type 59 going hull down and just bouncing shots off its 200mm rounded, bouncy, slopey, ding-ding-ding, made out of rubber turret, for example. Generally speaking, medium tanks rely on their armour to bounce a shot while they're getting the hell out of there. A medium tank that sits in front of its target, blazing away, exchanging shots with it, is doing it wrong and is usually going to die or be severely damaged. There are exceptions, but that's generally not the way a medium tank gets its kills. It's about the manoeuvrability. It's about flanking. It's about not popping up in front of the enemy gun. It's about popping up to the side of the enemy gun, putting a shot on the side of his turret, going nah, 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 and running away. You know, that's the medium tank thing. And in that respect, this tank works just like that really, really, really well. But it works like that really, really, really well because of the gun. It's this thing. Now, there are two guns. You've got the 76mm T185 that the T71 had previously at Tier 7. And then you've got this is the new one, the 90mm T178. Now, I'm going to compare this gun to the 90mm F3, which is the only other 90mm autoloading gun in the game. And this 90mm F3... the Batchat can use it, the AMX 5100 can use it, the Lorraine can use it. It's your general... It's probably the most French gun in the game. So many French tanks can use this thing in autoloading and non-autoloading configurations. And at first glance, you're going to think that these two guns are very, very, very similar. And they do look very similar, but they couldn't be more different. And I'll show you what I mean. First of all, rate of fire. Well, this is the most significant difference on paper looking at these two guns. And can I just say at this point, Wargaming, seriously, sort out the statistics screens. These little summaries, these little pop-up summary screens with the stats of your guns. Sort out some way of showing the difference between an autoloading gun and a normal bloody gun. Because you cannot tell from looking at the stats of these guns that these are autoloaders. There is no way of knowing. And it's really, really getting on my nerves. Especially when you get tanks that have a choice. Like, for example, the T21. Not the T21, sorry, the T71. Here we go. You got a choice of two guns. One of them is an autoloader. Which one? You can't tell. There's no way of knowing. There's no way of knowing until you stick the gun on the tank and press the battle button. And that's when you find out, oh crap, I'm driving a tank with an autoloader. It's not good enough, Wargaming. Sort it the fuck out. Also, while you're at it, stats like this, the rate of fire, is meaningless. Utterly meaningless on an autoloader. We don't want to know the rate of fire. We want to know the reload time. Right? Get it fixed. So, brief rant aside. Yeah, rate of fire on the American gun, much, much better than on the French gun. But it's not the rate of fire, it's the reload. This is a 25-second reload on this gun, and I can't remember the reload of the 90mm on the AMX 3090. I know it's more than 30 seconds. 32, 34, something like that. Depends on your crew skills. But significantly faster than on the French gun. So the T69 definitely 25-second reload, really, really, really good. But there's a reason why it has a 25-second reload. I'll come to that in a minute. The rest of the stats of the gun, very, very similar. I mean, 170 versus 173 penetration, may as well be the same. Exactly the same damage, 240. Same accuracy, 0.38. Aiming time, may as well be the same. 3 seconds for the French, 2.9 seconds for the American. So pretty much the same gun in every respect, other than the American gun has a faster reload. Well, actually, no. The two guns couldn't be more different. And again, this is not something you can see from just looking at the stats of the tank. It's because this gun has a 4-shot clip. And that gun has a 6-shot clip. And that's why this one only takes 25 seconds to reload. And why these ones take a week to reload. I mean, in the case of the AMX 5100, actually, no, the 52-second reload on the AMX 5100 is the 100mm gun. But it's, this gun still has a long-ish reload. And none of the American ones really do, because they all have 4-shot clips. From here on up, it's 4-shot clips all the way. The T69, the T54E1, and the T57 heavy tank. Now, the French tanks don't start getting 4-shot clips until the AMX 5120 and the AMX 50B, the two Tier 9 and 10 heavy tanks. And that's the difference. As well as the fact that the French still are the most mobile, but the Americans, they don't get 6-shot magazines. And that's a really, really good thing. And it's a really, really bad thing. So we'll go through the good things first. Obviously, you get a shorter reload. So you're spending less time shooting at enemy tanks, which means enemy tanks have a smaller window of opportunity to shoot back at you. So you can do all of the damage in your magazine over a shorter period of time. And you're exposed for less time. So this is a good thing. Plus, you don't spend as much time hiding, waiting for that gun to reload. So that's a good thing. The bad thing is you have lower damage potential. You just do, because you've got 4 shots that do 240 damage, and he's got 6 shots that do 240 damage. So you really, really do need to start calculating the sort of damage. I mean, this thing's going to do, rough figure, 1,000 damage per magazine-ish. Now, it's a Tier 8 medium tank. There aren't an awful lot of tanks this thing can come across that it's going to be able to kill if they're on full health and you don't have backup. So it's very, very easy as a new T69 driver to get yourself into trouble and get yourself killed, purely because you rushed off using that speed. You came across another Tier 8 medium tank, for example, and you just didn't have the firepower to kill them, because the gun just, there's a hard upper limit to how much damage you can do with one magazine in this gun. And so the way to, I feel, successfully play the T69 is kind of like the way you play the French, and be real careful in the first 3 or 4 minutes of a game. Just do not go anywhere alone, right? Take somebody else with you. Follow somebody around. Do not get killed. Survive the first few minutes of the game. Take what shots you can when you can, but keep yourself alive at all costs, because once this tank comes across wounded enemy tanks, you come across a lurver on 800 health and you can destroy him in seconds. You come across a lurver on full health, he's going to kill you, because you don't have the damage output from this gun to kill him. You just cannot physically do it. So I have been having fun with the T69 once I accepted and got my head around the idea that, yeah, you just cannot kill stuff with this gun unless you brought friends with you, or unless they're already damaged. That's just the way it is. And that's why the French tanks have longer reloads, because they've got more shots. Simple as that. And it makes perfect sense. When you say it out loud like that, well, yeah, they've got to put more shells in the magazine, so it takes them longer to reload them. When you say it like that, it makes perfect sense. But I prefer having less shots, but just having more options, not having to sit around for as long waiting to reload the gun, just gives you more stuff to do in the game. And we don't play the game to hide around corners watching a counter tick down until we can actually press the fire button again, which is what I tend to be doing most of the time in some of these French tanks. The AMX 5100 with the 100mm gun is a particular culprit. You spend 80% of your time playing that tank waiting to reload the gun, and that's boring as shit. With these American tanks, it's just much more exciting and interesting to play because you spend so much less time waiting for the ability to press the fire button again. And you know, it's a game. That's a good thing. It allows you to play the game more. So yeah, lower overall damage output in one magazine, but I quite happily trade that for the ability to be useless less because I'm sitting around waiting to reload. So there you go, the T69. Test server games, they were hard work. As I said, vast majority of both teams are always tier 10s when you're playing on the test server. But I have had a couple of games despite that. So let's see how they went. Well, this was my first ever game in the T69, and the one and only game it gave me where I was top tier. And you can see straight away, look at the teams. This is what happens when the matchmaker is forced to give you favourable matchmaking on the test server. This is just how many. This is how many people are playing at tier 8 and below. So, Live Oaks. What we got? A couple of tier 8 heavies, tank destroyer, and then me, and a T71, light tank, and tier 4 artillery. Enemy team, not that much better. They got that new French premium tier 8, which is very quick. Target 2, Ferdinand. And at this point, I hadn't yet learned my lesson about the limited initial damage output from this gun. So it's we've lost our T71 already. Interesting point to note, by the way, the gold ammo for this gun is high explosive anti-tank. Now, heat ammo doesn't lose penetration with distance, but it doesn't get normalization against sloped armor, as opposed to APCR, which does lose penetration with distance, but has a much higher velocity. And now there we go, 1006 health left on an FCM. Now this guy I can kill. There you go. And reload. 25 seconds. There's a Super Pershing up there. 173mm of penetration. Unless you hit weak spots, you're not going to get through the front of a Super Pershing with this gun, which is not going to happen. But 755 health, I can kill him with 3 shots. Took his tracks, start aiming for his commander's cupola, and bounced, and bounced, and 1 penetrating hit. And of course he gets one into me, and he has exactly the same, pretty much the same gun, except mine's an autoloader and his isn't. The stats are pretty similar between the two tanks. And they've nailed our artillery. Oh crap, Ferdinand. Let's get the hell out of here. I'm going to have to go facing the... Oh, sideways shot. Bingo, thank you very much. Ferdinand, the Jagdtiger 88. The Jagdtiger 88 in particular has such a monster rate of fire on that 88mm gun. Fires every 4.5 seconds. And I'm trying to get some solid cover between myself and this Ferdy and try to flank him. Oh crap. And yeah, you just can't get through the front of a Ferdinand with this gun. And I could really use a bit of support from these fellas behind me. If they would just move up, that would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you. And they are coming, but, you know, God, they're kind of slow. And that bloody T71. You know, but T71 has just as many problems when I've angled my front as that Ferdinand does. I'm trying to keep an eye on the Ferdy. But the angles are all wrong, and I commit a grievous error of judgment here. And yeah. So, you know, not particularly well played. T71 over there. Managed to get himself on the flank with his little 76mm autoloader. And it's T34 versus Ferdinand. Oh, good shot. Hits him, sets him on fire. So T34's doing alright. T28 got on the base. No idea where that Jagdtiger 88 is. Oh, he's probably down over the railway bridge. T34 just needs to get one more hit on this guy, but if the T71 is fully loaded, he can absolutely humiliate a T34. Oh, he's bouncing. And he's empty, and the T34 nails him. And there's the Jagdtiger 88, he's just killed the T28. And now it's just a question of who's going to cap first. And that's, in fact, how we win. Because our T34 makes it into the cap circle long before the JT88 can. And we basically just win by capping. So that was that game. And not too bad. And that was my first experience of driving the T69. Yeah, check that matchmaker out. Actually, there's more tier 8s in this game than there are normally in test server matches. But nobody seems to be playing tier 9s. There's one tier 9 in this entire match. He's on the enemy team, that T54 E1. We've got no tier 9s. It's just tier 10, tier 10, tier 10, tier 10. Bunch of tier 8s, one artillery. And it's almost exactly the same on the enemy team, except for that T54 E1. So, Himmelsdorf. Would have preferred something with a little more cover, but, you know, this is what it gave me. So I'm going to go for the hill. But I have absolutely no hesitation in abandoning the hill if nobody's going to come up there with me. However, that doesn't seem to be the case. We end up going there with the T110E5, two T62As and me. There's that top speed. And better power to weight ratio than the T62A. Check out that gun elevation. It's not bad. Not bad for a tank with an oscillating turret. And the gun depression isn't too bad on this thing either. It's not French. I don't know, the Americans just seem to be able to build better oscillating turrets. Go figure. And I am deliberately slowing down here. I don't want to be the first one up to the top of this hill. I'm letting that T62A go ahead. So what's coming around there? Panther 2 and AMX-50B. And that ain't all. There's a Centurion as well, and a T57 Heavy. Panther 2 is going to be the first one around. So let's get ready to... Oh, hello! One shot left. Oh, Centurion. I actually bounced a shot there. Oh, and there goes my ammo rack. Centurion's not keen on facing off against this lot, and this is why you cannot go anywhere without friends in this tank. How dead would I have been at the hands of that Centurion and that Panther too if this reception committee wasn't waiting for anybody dumb enough to try and come around this side. Now, I could have stuck around to finish off those enemy tanks, and that would certainly have gained me more experience, but our base is being capped. And if you've got a tank that can do this much speed... Okay, there's a bat chat coming. There he is.
That's gotta hurt. Looks like that one went right through. Enemy armor is damaged.
One shot left, and ramming speed, because he's only a bat chat. He's a 25-ton tank. I have the weight advantage. Of course, now he's reloading, but here comes the T69, who's also spotted the problem, and I'm still reloading, but come on, thank you. Lesson learned. Always have backup when you're driving this thing. And now we're reloaded again. And we can start resetting this. Well, I would say start resetting this camp. The team are doing it without me. Team reacted well here. And the fight's all happening on the top of the hill and in our base. But I only have 352 health. And there are some big... Oh crap. Do not want to get shot at by that Foch. And I'm going to have big problems penetrating this fella from the front. So I'm trying to track him, basically. Help out the mediums, but it's just not happening. And reload. Come on, little fella. Speed things up here while we wait. And I just want that Foch to turn around. There we go, got his tracks. Got him where I want him. Angle could have been better, but you know, I'll take the shot that I can have. Side, no, not that angle. Turret ring, try it. Oh, yeah. Damaged his turret ring. Sweet. Reloading again. And suddenly, it's not looking quite so desperate. So what they've got. And there goes the V50. All they've got left is an IS-7 and a Lurva. Okay, we're loaded again. Now the IS-7 I could kill. But probably not from the front. I'd have to flank him. And looking at where he is, well, it's like the Lover's guarding his ass, so I'd like to pop up behind him and put a shot into his ass, but I can probably best help that T110E5 by distracting the Lurver. Ah crap, T110E5's gone. I'm probably going to get one or two shots before this guy spots me. Oh, that shot went absolutely nowhere near where we aimed. And now I'd really... Oh crap, I could have done that. 77 health, 2 shots left. Knowing his reload. And again, these shots just going nowhere near where I'm aiming. It's T62A's coming around. So, you know, I came around here to distract the Lurver. I've certainly done that. And this is my mistake. I waited for him to come around the corner with one shot left. What I should have done there was run around here and wait on that corner for him to come around this side, so I could have backed up into cover and reloaded instead of waiting with one shot when he can absolutely definitely kill me in one hit. And I tried to maneuver around him, but nah, never going to happen. And of course we ended up winning that one. So decent result. No kills, but did a butt-ton of damage to the enemy team. And again, not just the damage, tracking that Foch, providing a distraction, going back to help fight off the cap instead of farming kills on top of the hill. You know, it's all decisions that you make like that that affect the success of the battle. And it's all down to knowing what your tank can and can't do. More so in tanks that have autoloader guns than any other tank, because they do have that massive limitation. And that was probably my only real mistake, waiting around that corner with nowhere to go and only one shot when it was going to take 3 to kill this guy. And he only had to hit me once, so lesson learned. Use the manoeuvrability and the speed of this thing. What I should have done there was run off to that corner, back there along the road, and wait around that corner for him to come around this side. Take my shot and then get the hell out of there while he was waiting to aim. But I didn't, so I died. So yeah, the T69, American Tier 8 medium tank with the autoloader gun and the oscillating turret. I would definitely have to say this is it's not just a good tank, and it's no better or worse than any of the other Tier 8 mediums, really. It's got its own little niche that it fits into, but it's more, for me, more fun than any of the other Tier 8 mediums. And it's because of that gun. It's all because of that gun. It's got monster burst damage potential. Well, limited burst damage potential because it only has 4 shots. But the trade-off for only having the 4 shots is you spend so much less time completely useless sitting around waiting to reload. And that's a trade-off I am very, very happy to make. Because if it means that this thing is more like driving a Chaffee and less like driving an AMX 5100, then yeah, I'm all for it. And I like that about all of these new Americans. It's the 4-shot clip that really gives these things their character. Whereas the French character was insane speed maneuverability and monster burst damage output, but with long reloads and low armor. The American thing seems to be decent, all-round, not bad tanks with the autoloader with a limited number of shots but less time spent reloading. So yeah, and that's absolutely the kind of compromise that I just wish some of the French tanks had. And yes, AMX 5100, I am looking at you. So yeah, the T69 American Tier 8 medium tank. 2 thumbs up from me. I think this might end up being my favourite Tier 8 medium, purely because of the way it plays with that 4-shot gun. A lot of fun to play. Not an I win button by any stretch of the imagination. It isn't particularly better than any of the other Tier 8 mediums. You know, they all have their place. But personally, I just like the way it plays with that 4-shot clip on this autoloader gun. It's a lot of fun. I've been having fun with it. I'm sure you guys will too. And I'm looking forward to playing this thing on the test server. Not on the test server, where I can actually get a decent Tier 8 or 9 game for a change. And I think this thing could really kick some ass. So, as always, take care on the battlefield, and I'll catch you next time.